Okay, cool. All right, well, welcome everyone. This is Bydey and Fricker22 doing any percent NMG co-op, which is a really cool thing that sort of got revitalized in the last year or so when there's a new A Link to the Past online service where people can hook up their emulators to each other and sort of exist in the same world, right? So that there's one Hyrule and both Bydey and Fricker will be running around it at the same time. Um, and so they'll be working together to Interesting. To finish the game as fast as possible.
I am connected. Are you connected?
Oh, sorry. Hey, I think I muted myself. Okay, sounds good. All right, 3, 2, 1, go. All right, so we're off. Yeah, so the players are both inhabiting the same world here, and they're going to run around and sort of help each other get to the end of the game as fast as possible. This is only recently become possible. There have been other technical solutions for doing co-op a while back, but there's been a bunch of advances recently. So the run has really changed a lot in the last few months. Should be really cool to see. You can see right at the beginning they're immediately splitting up. Fricker is getting the lamp while Bydey goes straight into the escape. If you know anything about this game, the escape is pretty straightforward. There's not a ton of stuff to do. There's a little bit of extra stuff that they get to do because they're in co-op, but they can't really spread out the responsibilities too much. Mostly just here and there, one player will pick up a key while the other player waits in front of the door that it unlocks and stuff, but it's mostly pretty similar, pretty close to the regular escape. They've put a bunch of time into timing all these things and working it out so that whenever one player is going to have to wait, the other player does all the extra stuff they can. So getting the lamp from the first chest is a little bit slower, but because one of them is going to have to wait for a key drop at some point anyway, it doesn't actually lose any time to get there, to get it in that chest. Yeah, both players independently DM'd me before this and were like, hey, can you make sure to mention on comms that playing on emulator isn't possible? Both of these guys are console runners, and so they're on a different setup. They may be different controllers than they're used to, maybe a little bit of emulator lag. It definitely feels different playing on an emulator than on a console. So you can see here, one player killed the guard and got the key while the other waited to unlock the door immediately. There's going to be more of that coming up in a second.
I'm gonna delay just a second till you get the key Fricker.
Way through here, there is, I don't know if you can hear the players on stream, but Bydey was mentioning he's going to delay for a second. There's some technical reasons where if they're on the same room at the same time, and one player, I think, unlocks a door or gets a key or something, it doesn't work, it doesn't sync properly with the other player always. So they're working their way around that. Picking up the boomerang. Now making our way through the door. The big excitement really is going to happen after Escape when the world opens up a lot. I'm going to be pointing out a few things here and there where to sort of show off exactly how much faster, how much time they're saving over the single player run. We'd expect this run to be probably in the neighborhood of an hour, give or take, depending on exactly how well everything goes. The world record of the single player run is 23 minutes longer than that, so they really have found a lot of ways to squeeze out time by splitting up responsibilities, and it's really a lot of places in the first half of the run where you need some item to do something, and so one player can wait at the place you use the item while the other player gets the item. And then there's also a bunch of just stuff where it's just like, well, you can be clearing 2 dungeons at the same time, but we'll get to that later. I don't want to go into too much detail yet. Now walk in, we're pumping our way through the escape. I caught the end of the last run, which Fricker was also part of the last run, so he's a real champ for doing back-to-back runs for us here on Link to the Cure. That was really cool to watch. Glitchless Dungeon Order is an interesting category. Fricker's really good at it. I think he has the first or second place time right now. And Bydey was actually commentating that. So both of them putting in a lot of work for this tournament. Sorry. There's a tournament going on also. Getting my words mixed up for this marathon, though. I don't think there's really any tech in the back part of Escape. I guess maybe in Dark Cross. I just watched this run this afternoon. I should really remember it better.
I guess I'll get the key.
2 Links and 2 Zeldas pushing the mantelpiece. You love to see it. A little bit of trouble with the snakes there. That's a really annoying room. Getting through everything just fine. So after the escape, they're gonna split up basically immediately. See in just a second, but we're gonna take off and do some fancy stuff pretty immediately. Wow, what a place for that rat to be. There's all sorts of RNGs that you would never get to see in the regular run because the rooms just take different amounts of time, so different stuff can happen in them. Fricker, really just everything is running into him. A little bit of trouble pulling this switch. I wonder if that's a bug in the sink. I'm not really sure what happened
Yeah,
there.
that's a sink bug.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Yeah, so the game, what Fricker there means by super tiles, when you see rooms in this game, you can see some of them are kind of sort of one unit, like one screen in length, and some of them are bigger, either too wide or too tall or both. 2 screens by 2 screens is a super tile, so you'll have a bunch of small rooms laid out on them, and sometimes the game is syncing super tiles rather than smaller rooms, and so stuff can get confused if you don't line it up correctly. So it looks kind of like they're going to the same place now, but you're going to see, I believe it's Fricker, do something really weird that a lot of players probably haven't seen before. The infamous Houlihan room. If you fall into a hole and the game doesn't know where it's supposed to put you, you go to the Houlihan room, which is named after a guy who won a Nintendo Power contest back in 1990 or so. Certain Chris Houlihan, and it's full of rupees. And so what we do there is we jump into the water and we can't swim yet, so we get splashed back out, and we sort of confuse the camera a little bit for falling in that hole. Normally that hole takes you to a ferry, but here it takes you to the Houlihan room, which has 2 nice effects. One of them is he gets a bunch of money, and the other is that it puts you out of Link's house. So this is a pretty quick way to get 200 rupees while still getting fairly close to your destination. The Houlihan room is actually used in some like vanilla single-player speedruns as well. Low percent. It's not like the optimalist strat in low percent, but a lot of people get it because the optimal strats are really difficult. But in this strat, because in this run, I mean, gosh, getting bullied by that Armos and that Octorok. In this run, this is one of the places where there's sort of a long pole where if Fricker didn't do that, he would just be standing still waiting for something else to happen. So there's sort of dead time where you can sort of waste quote unquote 10 seconds or 20 seconds or whatever to do something that'll help you later because there's just time to fill. So it's really interesting routing this stuff. I haven't played this particular category, but I have played co-op in a different category called All Dungeons Restricted Major Glitches, and it's really interesting to think about like trying to get things to line up, and you're like, oh, well, okay, if we do this obvious thing, I'll beat you to it by 45 seconds. What can we do in 45 seconds? Can we go collect an item? Can we open some doors? It's a really interesting routing puzzle, and then it's really fun to play, just like playing video games while you're on the phone with your friend is fun, and getting to actually play co-op with them is an extra treat. So we see here they're running through the same rooms. What's going to happen here is Bydey's going to get the big key of the dungeon right when, or around the time when Fricker gets to the big chest.
I'm on your bridge, Fricker.
So that's going to allow Fricker to get the bow without having to do this extra loop around the dungeon, and then Bydey's going to death warp out, which will allow him to get
Getting
going
key
and do
now.
some more collection.
Got the key.
So you see, look how well that timed. I think that Bydey actually beat Fricker to the big chest, but because of the emulator lag time, he had to wait there for maybe a second or two, but really excellently lined up there. So Fricker's going to go finish the dungeon now. Bydey is going to... This is one of the times when there isn't really a great thing to do. So what Bydey's going to do here is he's going to kill these guys that drop a lot of arrows and try to stock up on arrows for the rest of the run. And then he's going to get the boots, which are the item that allows us to go super fast for the rest of the run. And so I haven't really talked about what sinks, but basically everything sinks except for like
Fricker?
the commodity stuff at the top of the screen. So rupees don't sink, bombs don't sink, arrows don't sink. Your current life total and magic total don't sink, but
Where are you at, Fricker?
everything else does.
Okay.
Fricker having a little trouble with double readies. That's a room where it's really, really easy to accidentally get a 2-cycle. You try to go fast, and instead of saving 5 frames, you get a second cycle, and it's a very easy mistake to make. You can see Bydey here getting ready to talk to the elf. Pick up the boots will happen in about 3 seconds here. And now we can gun it. So now Fricker is going to be making his way to... First I want to point out, so right now we're finishing Eastern at 10:45. That's a time that is probably possible to do in vanilla, although it would be a really, really good time. That's the last sort of checkpoint time in the run that's going to be remotely close to the single player times. We're going to just blitz ahead of the regular run now. So Fricker's going to go over to Desert Palace and wait for Bydey to pick up the Book of Pandora, which will allow him to open it. And then Bydey's going to do some errands while Fricker's getting the gloves. So we'll talk about that as it happens in just a second.
Yes, that's a good point.
The game really forces you to get the boots. It makes the entrance into the next dungeon require the boots to get. So we gotta run over to do this. Fricker has some time to kill. Actually, he might lose to the book by a few seconds, but getting those bombs means that he'll be stocked on bombs. And it's gonna cost him maybe a couple seconds, but there's a lot of times where one player is going to be waiting. So sometimes it looks like something could be optimized, but actually it's not true because they would just have to wait more time somewhere else. Can be kind of deceptive in the routing at some point, in some ways. Fricker's making his way into desert here, while Bydey's going to show off some cool tech here. Completes the dungeon. He's going to go get the ice rod, and then after that he's going to do what's called a water walk, which is where by dashing along a pit out of a door in the overworld, there's other ways to do it too, but that's the easiest setup. You get in a state where if you hop off of a ledge onto the water, then the water sort of acts like ground. You can just dash over it. Another really cool thing about this category, this run, is that because we're getting the ice ride now, one of the reasons to do it is just that it's one of the things that we can do right now while we're waiting to get the gloves. But another reason is that it's really good against the boss of this dungeon. The boss of this dungeon, Landwallace, is notoriously impossibly difficult in the regular run. It's one of, like, at best, the second hardest thing in the whole run to do really fast, because you have to do it with just the bow. But in this category, you get to do it with the ice rod, which does twice as much damage as the bow. So you only have to get 2 shots in each of them instead of 4. So we'll see how that goes. You see Bydey now doing a water walk, which is kind of like fake flippers, but it's rarer, so it's kind of cool. lets him dash into that portal and dash out of over here. You might recognize this part of the route from the regular run, because this is how we normally go. And you
Nice
see again,
timing,
they're
dude.
synced up perfectly. He gets the gloves needed to lift that rock as he's dashing over to it. Making his way to Hera. So the second dungeon in the Light World, the Desert Palace, is locked behind beating the first dungeon, because you have to use the prize to get the boots, and you have to use the boots to get the book, and you have to use the book to get into the dungeon. However, the third dungeon, which Bydey is making his way to, is not locked behind beating the second dungeon. It's only locked behind the prize, which means that he can start working on Hera while Fricker is finishing up Desert Palace. Bydey making his way through Death Mountain, which is a nightmare. Seems like it's going pretty well so far. He's down a heart from where you'd normally expect to be here, because hasn't beaten Desert yet. Oof, getting hit out of his charge by a cabbage there. Oh, nice juke. Fricker coming up on Limbolus now. Hopefully, if the worms cooperate just a little bit, he'll be able to get a one cycle, but it can be hard depending on the RNG you get, especially with the Ice Rod. Most players are used to doing this fight with the Fire Rod, but the Ice Rod behaves a little differently, so it's definitely not a free fight, although it is easier than if you had Bow instead. Bydey's going to be doing a pretty normal Hera. I'm going to watch Flambo here for just a second. Yeah, getting not the best RNG on that first worm. Oh, I thought he might have been able to save that one. Alright, still, very, very good fight. Easy 2-cycle Limbolus. 2-cycle is really, really good if you don't have Ice Rod, and sort of almost expected if you do. It's really, I cannot overstate how nice it is to have that item in the fight. There's now nothing really to do to make progress in the sort of main plot of the game, except for beating Tower of Hera so that we can get the Master Sword. So Fricker's going to spend this time to do some more errands. He's going to farm... Oh, I'm sorry, he's not actually doing errands right now. That part comes later. He's going to farm a lot of money. He's going to farm all of the money that he needs for the rest of the run, and then he's going to wait outside the Master Sword pedestal so that he can pull it the second that we have the pendant. Normally it takes about 1.5 minutes to go from killing Moldorm to getting the Master Sword, and we're going to skip all of that waiting. Getting the DLC cave here, the mini Moldorm cave. It's got 300 rupees. And some other stuff if Fricker wants it. I don't know how much he's going to be grabbing. Oof. Moldorms, dude. Moldorms are the worst. What a terrible enemy. Showing off, I didn't even think to point this out, but a lot of people know this from Rando, but you can actually just walk along the walls at the bottom of that room. There's no like tech there, you just sort of walk there.
Ah.
Bydey opting not to hit the switch there is a little bit interesting choice. He should be safe, but yeah, the problem is that Moldorms are the worst. I'm sure he'll still be fine, but I might have hit it if it were a marathon. I don't know. Maybe he's just braver than me. Fricker now, he wants to get up to 720 rupees, I believe. He got most of them from that NPC in Moldorm Cave. He's going to get the rest by doing tree pulls. If you kill 4 enemies and don't take any hits between times that you pull a tree, you get 4 red rupees, as we'll be seeing here in just a second. So now we're rich, nothing to worry about. Bydey, meanwhile, taking on Moldorm. Moldorm is a famously very difficult and heavily RNG boss. Bydey taking him quite safe. Oh god, Moldorm. Big Moldorms are not any nicer than small Moldorms, by the way. Picking it to the pedestal. This is going to be, again, just like almost perfect timing. Fricker's going to get there like 1 second after the pendant. Beautiful. Obviously would have preferred not to bonk, but beautiful. Yeah, blame the emulator, not Fricker's fault. It really, really is weird to have suddenly significantly different input delay than you're used to. Even if it's not that bad, it just like even a small amount of difference will feel a lot different.
I nailed that screen. Holy.
So here's one really cool thing worth pointing out. Well, first of all, I just want to say that normally you would beat Desert around 17 minutes and some change, and you would beat Hera around like 22 minutes and some change to 23. Oh, I might be getting the figures wrong. We beat Desert at 15:49 and Hera at 18:32. We're now like 4.5 minutes ahead of world record level run of the single player game. Another thing that I wanted to point out was that because Fricker got the Master Sword really early there while Bydey was still on the mountain, he was able to go and just get the Ether Medallion. That medallion is a pain to route in every category except for this one.
Ooh. Oh my god. Emulator.
Yeah, trying to bonk there, or trying to not bonk there and then still getting the bonk. So Fricker now is doing, he's dropping off the mushroom, he's going to get flippers, then he's going to come back and get the mushroom on his way to the bridge warp. Bydey is going to be doing all of Aga Tower right now. This is another very linear segment, kind of like the escape, where there's just no real way to parallelize any of it, so Fricker is doing errands instead. Doing that light world screen before, I don't know, what do you call this? 2 before Zora? Oh my god, okay, it's fine. With all the pickles there, it's just a nightmare. You just can't dash, I think. I don't know. That seems terrible. Making our way to King Zora, who's going to sell us our flippers.
Anyone who dashes that screen on emulator is a madman. Just saying.
So, normally neither of these players picks up the powder or the mushroom, but there's plenty of time to get it while we're waiting on Aga Tower to finish. So we go ahead and get it here. The powder is a really powerful safety, and these guys don't need it on console, but it's really nice to have when you're playing on emulator. Making our way through some of the hardest rooms in Aga Tower. Honestly, some of the hardest rooms to do fast in the whole game. Aga Tower has a lot of really technical, demanding rooms. Going pretty well. Getting that annoying left RNG from that guard.
Whoa, whoa, that was one of those inputs.
Uh-oh. Bydey having a little bit of a controller malfunction. Even if it's not a controller malfunction, we're going to say it's a controller malfunction.
Hopefully we don't get too many of those.
So Bydey now is coming up on Aghanim. Aghanim is just as annoying in this category as in every other category. We have to hit him with 6 energy balls. Out of every 4 attacks that he does, the first one is always an energy ball, and then the next 3 are either energy balls or what we call blue balls, which are, they sort of burst into a hexagon shape, and you can't deal damage with them. So it sucks. He can decide to give you really good RNG, or he can decide to give you really bad RNG. And if he just decides to give you bad RNG, then it just costs tons of time. So we're going to hope that we don't get too many blue balls today. So far, so good. Fricker, meanwhile, is waiting. As soon as Aghanim dies, the bridge becomes a warp to the Dark World, and he can get started on Palace of Darkness. But nothing to do until then. The Dark World route is actually really interesting. Give you a little bit of a preview. Both players are going to enter Palace of Darkness.
Come on.
I haven't been counting. Are we at 1 blue ball?
Let's go. 1.
Very nice. Very nice. Love to see
We got
it.
5 in our PB, so there you go.
Oh, wow. So now the bridge warp apparently turns into a warp at the beginning of the cutscene, which is really nice. So now we're going to head to Palace of Darkness. Fricker's going to be getting the hammer and then bailing and letting Bydey finish it. I was not involved in the routing of this run. I mentioned this to Fricker. I was like, is that really fastest? And he assures me that they timed a lot of stuff, because it really looks weird that this is the right route. But the routing is quite complicated because of all of the different pieces you have to put together. And so apparently this is the best thing that we've been able to find. Maybe the best thing. I would love it if everybody in chat right now got really excited and ran this category and optimized the hell out of it, because it's really fun, really interesting run. A lot of people are excited about it. As I said, it's just really fun to get to run the game with your friends. Fricker's showing off how weird it is to menu when you have just like a totally random assortment of items that you're not used to in any other category.
Oh, I remembered to bonk this time. Let's go.
Bydey heading up to get Quake before making his way into the dungeon. I think a large part of this routing is to avoid one player having to wait on Hammer Bridge. Oh, Fricker getting JP 1.0, that's annoying. When you're falling in a hole in the 1.0 version of the game, you can take damage. In all the later versions of the game, I'm pretty sure all of them have that fixed where you can't take damage. But Fricker didn't bait the fireball. You can beat the fireball or you can wait a little bit and let it miss you, but he got in between those two options and took a hit. It shouldn't matter, but always a bummer. See if he knows the backup, yeah. If you bonk there, before that door, you have to key dash into the next door, or else you will get suctioned back down the stairs. Because you have EG armed is the reason. I can't explain it any further than that. Fricker coming up on, he's going to be getting the hammer here. The fastest way to do that is with a very difficult trick called the hammer yump. I'm sure that it's fun to do on emulator. Uh-oh, bit dashing. Oh, landed on the first pixel correctly. Delightful. Oh, wow, okay, just perfect hammer yump. You love to see it. And he's going to get the last key that Bydey is going to be using right here in just a second. And now he's going to be going over to... If you're familiar with the regular run, we're doing sort of part of the overworld. I think most of the overworld, actually. As normal.
Oh.
We're going to head over, we're going to get our flute, we're going to activate it, we're going to go to Thieves' Town.
That was another one of those inputs.
The last few things that we need to finish the run are the flute, the gloves, the tempered sword, which I guess we don't technically need, but way faster. And then the fire rod and the Cadence Mario. So we're going to sort of be getting all of those and then go into a sort of dungeon rush mode. But in some cases, it's better to combine a pickup with finishing the dungeon that we're in. So in this case, what Fricker's going to do is he's going to get the flute, take it to Kakariko, and then do all of Thieves' Town, which gets the glove upgrades of Titan Smiths, as well as, of course, just the crystal from finishing the dungeon, which you need to beat the game. Got a little above Stumpy because input latency. Oh my gosh. Oh, I thought he was going to hit there. That was a really good dodge. Fricker getting that quick warp. Very nice. Bydey coming up on Helmasaur King here. Very dangerous boss. Should be able to do it. We've got this new tech where if you arm spin speed, which is you release a spin and then tap A on the next frame, your hitbox, your hammer hitbox, instead of being the sort of crappy, weirdly placed up-facing hammer hitbox, becomes the up-facing dash hitbox. which is way bigger. It's farther out in front of you and it's wider. So yeah, you can see him just kind of wailing on the jewel from fairly far away. Very nice fight. Got the fireballs, but handled it really nicely, getting out of there with no problem. Fricker, meanwhile, activating the duck. We're gonna go to go to Thieves Town now, while Bydey... Oh god, I took notes. What is he doing now? Bydey is going to do a short dip into Skullwoods, but not finish it, because he's not going to have the Tempered Sword yet.
How are you doing with flute, Frigger?
Tempered Sword Moth is a disaster. Or Master Sword Moth, sorry. I don't know what all of the routing concerns are. Again, I didn't actually participate much in the routing of this. Mostly, every once in a while, Fricker or Bydey would ask me a question. I'd be like, "Oh, I don't know. That sounds good. You guys know what you're doing." But we're gonna do a little bit of collection here. We're gonna get the Fire Rod from Skullwoods, and then we're gonna make our way into Swamp after that, while Fricker is doing his Thieves Town clear. So we're going to be sort of briefly underpowered. Fricker actually has basically the exact normal loadout, but Bydey is going to have a little bit less power than you would have in a normal NMG run at this point, until after the Tempered Sword pickup. Bydey has actually, he's one of the few people who was crazy enough to run true low percent, which is where you finish the game with 3 hearts. So he knows his way around the game on low equipment. Shouldn't be a problem, but it is definitely a little bit different. You can tell that he has not played 100% by the way that he did the movement on that overworld incorrectly. Oh, that was a gross pattern in that Patrick Star room, but makes it through just fine.
Oh.
Uh-oh. Taking a little bit of damage on the Hellway. We're all good, though. Thieves Town is not the scariest place to take... Oh, what is that? What are those hitboxes? What? Alright, Bydey opting to take a death because there was a apparently immortal mummy that could not be damaged or hit by anything. Seems reasonable to reset that. I really honestly don't know what was going on there. That was total nonsense. That is a really, really difficult room. Just under the best of circumstances, and doing it, you know, on a setup that you're not familiar with and stuff makes it even harder. Gets through it just fine the second time. That's how it looks when things go right. Of course, after it's already kills you, it's nice the second time around. Classic mummy room. So now Bydey's going to get the Fire Rod out of this chest.
Oh man. It's not good.
I like you're out of that room, but what do I know? Fricker picking up his maiden. That's definitely just a, you know, nice captured woman who needs help, and nothing sinister is going on at all. Getting the gloves. Bydey opting. Oh, he's going to pick up some safety hearts in Link's house. That's really smart. That's a heads-up play. I don't think I would have thought of that. I would have just been saying, "Oh, I wish I had hearts. I'm gonna die now." But Bydey, way ahead of me, actually knows where to get them. Fricker going into blind. This is one of the easiest fights in the game, unless anything goes wrong, in which case it's suddenly one of the hardest fights in the game. The fight is scripted, so if you get all the hits the way that you normally do, it'll be free. You won't take any damage. You'll hit them on the first frame, on almost all the hits. So good. So far, so good.
Yeesh.
Uh-oh, yeah, so now if you miss a hit, it turns into this terrifying bullet hell. Okay, we're through safely. Very good. Turns into a terrifying bullet hell mode where there's a million fireballs on the screen and lasers and heads, and all of them
Come
hurt
on,
you.
dude.
It's like an incredible amount of damaging things on the screen at once. Good save, though. Very easy to die once things start going wrong in that fight. So Fricker's going to go get us our red sword, which does a million times more damage than the Master Sword. Or at least twice as much to most enemies. Bydey's going to be getting us our hook shot, which is going to be... actually, I'm not sure if that is necessary for speed tech after this. I don't know. I'm less acquainted with this run than I'd like to be. But anyway, we're also going to be finishing the swamp dungeon, of course. He's a little bit low on hearts. It's really easy to get hit a couple times in this dungeon, so hopefully nothing goes wrong from here on out. So you'll note here that if you're familiar with the run, you might be a little surprised because we're paying off. We're going to pay off the frog here. Well, we're going to turn him into a dwarf first, and then we're going to pay him off. And then we're going to have 130 rupees, which is a lot, right? Like, he went out of his way to collect all of these rupees, so it might look like a little funny, but actually, there's going to be enough dead time for one player during the Ganon's Tower segment that we're going to be finishing this game with casual equipment, right? We're going to have the gold sword and silver arrows for the Ganon fight. They save a lot of time. They're not done in the regular any percent run because they save less time than they cost to pick up, but they cost no time to pick up here, so you get to do Silver's Ganon. Hasn't gotten any more damage on him. So I'm pretty sure he took 1 damage and got 1 heart. Fricker now is going to flute over to the mire area. So I think the main reason for routing the dungeon in this order is that after this, Bydey's going directly to Turtle Rock, and you have to have the Cane of Samaria in order to do anything, really, in Turtle Rock. So we're collecting that first. At this point, we have everything that we need to do a dungeon rush, except for the Cane of Samaria. So we get the Cane of Samaria, and then we just sort of... Ooh, getting sniped there, that sucks. Should be okay. I don't... Maybe we'll get extra hearts in the restock room or something. Bydey tends to know a lot of safe strats, though, so I expect him to be able to pull back on the gas enough to make it through this dungeon safely. So yeah, we're going to be collecting the Cane of Samaria here from Isri Mire, which is going to allow Bydey to run into Turtle Rock afterwards. And then it's from this point, it's mostly just finishing up dungeons. The order in which they get finished up is... I think the last couple are not super critical. There's nothing that we get out of Ice Palace, so it doesn't matter when we do it. There's nothing you need from killing Mothula, so it doesn't matter if we do that before other stuff or after. Yeah, Bydey taking a little bit slow there, making it through safely. Really doesn't like that red berry, throwing the pot down at it. Okay, we got it. I expected him to get hit going for that heart because that's always how it seems to go, but managed to pick it up without taking damage. 3 hearts might be fine. I don't know what he's thinking heart-wise. 3 hearts lets you take 1 hit, but you're pretty likely to get hit by a Phelps on your way, so we'll see. I'll pick up some hearts for safety. Very reasonable. Fricker, meanwhile, has just had a perfectly normal mire, as far as I've noticed. Not taking any extra damage, nothing going wrong. Bydey going up at Argus, I don't think he does zero cycle. Yeah. So we're just doing this the sort of normal way. There's a fast strat where you can, if you do it really well and get a little bit lucky, you can beat that rotation, that sort of cyclone of puffs. But it's very difficult, and
As you can do it on emulator, it's impossible.
oh yeah, Bydey's telling us we can't do it on emulator. That makes sense. I certainly wouldn't be able to. Fricker now has a little bit less life than you would have in vanilla for this, just because we've completed less dungeons so far, but 6 hearts is actually fine. It's not really scary at all, and yeah, and he'll get back up to 7. You expect to take 4 or 5 damage on Vitreous, and you don't really expect to take damage to anything before then, so it should be fine. Coming up on, he's going to do a trick called Spooky, which he set up when he fluted into the mire area. Eating a fireball, blame emulator, but still fine. 6 is, even 5.5 is fine. 5.5 and 6 are the same number.
You'll see me take Turtle Rock pretty safe than normal. It's because it doesn't really matter what I do now until GT, so
makes sense.
That's why you'll probably see me do safety door and stuff like that.
Right, so Bydey will be taking it safely because he's going to be waiting outside Ganon's tower for a moment. For Fricker to collect the last crystal, so there's no time to be gained by rushing Turtle Rock, so he's just not going to. Fricker opting to powder there. I completely forgot that he also had powder, so there was an extra reason not to be worried. Very nice Vitreous fight. That last eyeball tried to get away, but it wasn't good enough. Try harder next time. Vidi fight is another one of those fights that if it goes normally, it's just like over in a flash, and if anything goes wrong, suddenly you're like having a heart attack of panic. It's terrifying if you lose control of it, but didn't lose control. Everything perfectly smooth. So now what we have left to do is Turtle Rock, obviously, which Bydey is heading to. Fricker is going to be completing the last part of Skullwoods and then all of Ice Palace. Those are 2 fairly short dungeons, but they do add up to more time than just Turtle Rock. So Bydey, as you can see there, has time to bonk that rock and get the fairy instead of trying to go fast, because he just like he can't save time by going faster unless he goes really, really slow. But he's pretty likely to be waiting for at least a short amount of time.
Oh my god, Josh menu.
Going back here is kind of an awkward thing to route in. You just have to, oh yeah, Fricker finding out that that's not actually a slope. There's a few things in this game that are really awkward to combine with anything else. Like I mentioned earlier, in most runs, most categories, it's impossible to combo either with anything convenient. Oh boy, hope you still beat that, okay. In this run, the back of Skullwoods is one of those things where it's kind of hard to get to, but you don't want to do it the first time you're there. So you just kind of have to walk all the way back here at some point. Gonna be coming up on these rooms. These are some really difficult rooms. I hope the emulator stuff doesn't mess them up too much. Bydey coming up on many people's pick for worst room in the game, the Chomps room. For some reason, we go to the Mushroom Kingdom in this split. It's full of Mario enemies. Nobody knows why. Don't worry about it. Getting pretty okay RNG there. Going for the double beam strat. Very interesting. Poke! I can't believe that works. That's cool.
Bonk!
Bonk. Bonk. I don't know if that was the double or not. Oh my god, Moth. Oh no, Moth, no! How did... Okay, alright, there we go. That was insane RNG. Moth just, like, clung to those spikes like a baby the whole time. Alright, so... in their world record run, Fricker beat Moth such that Bydey got the heart halfway through a room that requires beams. Which was pretty funny to watch. He did the beam strat, and then halfway through he slashed and didn't have beams and was like, what? This time at least he'll be prepared. I don't know if Jack can hear Fricker, but he was telling me that in that same run, the same thing happened to him. He lost beams halfway through the Mire 2 room. Oh wow, getting the God Pokies. Opting to use Fire Rod though, I imagine that doing Pokies 2 with spins on emulator is just terrible. Oh, we're having a little bit of frame rate issues, huh? Oh,
Yeah, it's one of the glitches we deal with.
that's weird. Looks like maybe it's back to normal now. Okay, that's good. Weird. Anyway, at least it only lasted a second and it wasn't in the middle of a fight or something.
Where are you at, Fricker? Okay.
Fricker's gonna wake his way through Ice Palace. As I said, this is a fairly short dungeon. That's only true because of Ice Palace Bomb Jump, which allows us to skip about, I don't know, a minute and a half, 2 minutes, something like that, of backtracking. Bydey here is going to be taking this secret exit out of Turtle Rock. The reason for this is just that if something terrible happens and he dies on Trinex, his reset point is set to the last time he entered the dungeon. So entering it from here, you're very close to the end of the dungeon.
Hey.
So it's only like a 20-second walk back instead of a... Oh my god. Oh no, can you make it? Okay. Oh no. Alright, we're fine. Luckily, both players have just tons and tons of bombs, so it didn't actually matter that I missed a bomb throw there.
I just kept impossible on emulator.
Fricker luckily remembering to hit the switch because, you know, he just did GDO. Be easy to accidentally do the GDO route. That's another emulator thing. Your timing for how long to hold left before turning around on that pit is pretty tight, and you just get used to how it works on your console. There's not like really great cues or anything, you just sort of do it by feel, and so if the feel is different, you're gonna mess up. Bydey here, interesting, this is not where I would stand because I'm living in fear right now. Bydey, please don't die. Oh my god, okay. Just spin him to the right. You would have been safe from everything.
I guess I've never been in that situation before.
I mean, it worked fine. Good lord.
I guess going to the right would be the smart thing to do. I never thought about that.
Yeah, if you just recoil to the right there, then Trinex isn't coming at you, so he can't ram your face for 4 damage.
That's smart.
Fricker now coming up on Cold Stare. So this is actually going to sync up pretty well, I think. Fricker's going to be getting the crystal around the same time Bydey gets to GT, so they're not really going to have to wait. Fingers crossed, everybody. Only a tiny, teeny bit of a party. Barely a party at all. So in the co-op run that I have done a few times, it's a glitch category. So one of the things we did was we routed in red mail really early in the run, because you can just dip GT whenever, basically. Makes it a lot less scary to have to do things like that in an unfamiliar setup.
Don't have to wait at all.
Yeah, you actually beat him.
Yeah, it's like fourth. I did get like super safe though.
Yeah, if you hadn't gone for the safety door, actually, if you had gone for the safety door and just like not had the trouble with the beetle, you probably would have beaten him. It was very, very close.
Ah, shit.
Bydey doing GT now. There's not a ton left that Fricker can really productively do, unfortunately. You can't get up to GT in time for him to like start the second floor while Bydey's getting the big key or anything like that. So what we're gonna do here is he's gonna get gold sword and silver arrows, and then I guess just chill. You could get a bottle and fairy, maybe. I don't know. There's not a ton of. Oh, half magic. Yeah, that would make sense too. Yeah, I would hope not. I mean, unless Bydey is doing Helma Key and hovering. Just use turbo, dude. So we should be seeing, I assume Fricker knows, the bomb dupe here. If you... We're not bomb duping. Ugh. Alright, fine. Taking the long way. I guess that's fair.
Whoa. I stopped right on the portal pixel.
I don't know.
Oh!
Just having some fun, dropping a bomb, picking it back up. It doesn't matter, yeah.
I disagree.
That's unfortunate to get hit by that.
Yep.
Pick up the small magic in the Michael Jackson room at the start of floor 2. Should be most of the difference. Costs almost no time.
Which room? The magic's
first-
different in this route, remember?
The first room... Oh, I guess you have silvers. It doesn't really matter, yeah. The first room of floor 2, the bottom left pot, like
Oh,
right
left
next to
has
the door,
magic, yeah.
is small
Yeah.
magic. You could get cape, yeah. Yeah.
Whoa.
The thing is that neither of you would be... You're both too proud to actually menu to cape. So you would die anyway. Fricker is...
Come on, get this.
Fricker is going to show off for us the only enemy in the game that takes extra damage from the gold sword spin. So, small link to the past trivia fact: the Hinox is the only enemy in the game that takes more damage from the gold sword spin than the gold sword slash. Bydey here doing Gauntlet, a series of combat rooms. Very interesting, very difficult rooms. Having silvers. Silver arrows cause a ton of lag, and they can really throw you off if your timing is more feel-based, which it is for, at least for me, I think for a lot of people. Getting the runaround for that blue Zazak in G3. Oh, G4, very, very nice.
Bydey, go fast.
Switching to Fire Rod, interesting. Oh, and going back to silvers for Lambo 2. Okay, so just didn't want to try the arrow shot in G5, which is very reasonable because it's fake as hell. Oh, messed up his setup there a little. Oh, very nice save on getting that third worm. You can see this is just like console or emulator timing stuff. Just, I mean, Bydey's good at this fight. He's good at the regular Lambo fight. It's just the setup being weird, throwing him off.
Console support soon.
Yeah, hopefully there will be console support soon. I haven't checked in on how that's going in a while, but it would be really cool to see. I don't think so.
Don't do it. chance it.
If you do lamp for the first 3, then you do. But if you do fire rod the whole way, you don't. Ooh, getting knocked off there. Alright, well, just doing the backup strat. I don't know how the timing on these lamps is going to work out. Alright, we're through. That's fine. These rooms are all incredibly difficult, tight movement rooms that are just impossible to do when your setup is different than usual. Bydey's doing a really good job of them, but there's some stuff where you just like, you're trying to make these very, very precise movements, and even being a little bit off, you just sort of could throw off the whole room. Coming up on Boulderm 2 here, I didn't really talk a lot about GT, but one of the sort of gimmicks of GT is that you refight all of the light world bosses, but this time you're heavily armed. Instead of having a fighter sword and like a stick, you have most powerful weapons in the game. Coming up on Agatu, which is one of the most difficult parts of the game to do fast. It's never going to kill you, but it can easily kill your run. See how that goes. You gotta reflect the blue ball, the energy balls back at him. This time there's 3 clones. Or there's 2 clones and 1 regular Aghanim. And regular Aghanim on some cycles can shoot blue balls. That was a very nice triple. Aghanim cooperating and doing really well. Oh, that's a 2 cycle. Oh baby. Very nice. That's the fastest you can kill Aghanim 2. Really nicely done.
Is this a possible PB? No. I don't think so. I'm in the red already. Like the Hulk?
But as soon as this bat lands on the left, the hole opens up. There we go. Fricker actually beats Bydey in despite being not the one fighting Agatu. Now we get to do gold fruits that was getting. This is so chaotic, by the way. Each of them can see each other, but only their own Ganon. So it looks super weird the whole time. It's so funny.
Oh my god, I got smoked. I had downward facing Ganon, that was goof.
Alright, we're fine. Bydey's not gonna take any damage here, I believe. It might be a PB with really friendly Ganon. Maybe not even that friendly. This is not a great gold Ganon, so I bet you can beat it.
Sir? Oh boy.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Fricker with a nice triple there. Oh, tiny bit low on that positioning. Oh no, Bydey's taking an unfortunate death after a bunch of timings got sort of screwed up for him.
What?
That's frustrating, but it happens. So Bydey's gonna... Time is when the second player walks into the Triforce room, by the way, so Bydey's just gonna have to clean up this fight. Yeah, it looked like a bunch of small things went wrong in succession and really threw you off.
You tried to slash and the lamp went out, so you couldn't hit him, and he threw a bat at you. It's all good. Finish strong, homie.
So still a really good run. Would have been close to PBing, but it's still a really good run. And there's a I assume that the end viewers cannot see the segment timers the players have, but Bydey was fairly far behind after Troll Rock and then pulled it back to being ahead after GT. So really good job, really good GT. But Bydey's Ganon is just warping constantly. This is disgusting. Please stop. Thank you. Oh, we just gotta stick 4 silver arrows in him. Oh, getting a cape slash. You can't get more than 1 arrow in him if he has already hit the ledge. But Bydey playing it safe and not trying to stand to the left or right of Ganon because it's way more dangerous. Just wants to finish the fight. And there we go. Very nice. Finish with about a 59-23, I think. I mean, obviously, you don't like to see a Ganon death at the end, but it was really fun to watch. Really good run. I mean, being that close to PB at the end was really great to see. GG's, guys.
Yo, thank you for the commentary, Fox. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. This was really fun to watch. And I'll, of course, obviously, love to participate in a charity marathon. Yeah, absolutely. Who wouldn't, man?
Yeah.
It was a great run. I assume that the viewers can hear you by now, so if you have any last thoughts, I know it's a little weird. You're not really coming in for an interview since you've been on the call with me the whole time, but if you have any last thoughts, now's the time.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you to all the viewers and the commentators and the co-runners and the runners. Big shout outs to Trisnell and Deadlink and Serial and anybody else that's behind running this marathon. I know you guys put in a ton of work and we appreciate you. It's a really good cause and thank you. But yeah, I guess I'll just chill until one of y'all or the restreamer swaps over.
Yeah, I don't know what exactly the process is right now.
I know my
I don't know.
GDL run ran a little late, but we kind of brought the time back in this run. So, I mean, whenever the next runner's ready, whenever you guys go over, feel free. I mean, I could sit here and sing for y'all, but I don't think you want that.
Can we get some of the deleted clips from your FMG?
No, those aren't PG.